about 80 million Americans are about to feel the pain because Americans will pay for what is happening right now here in the United States and abroad. Now, I'm going to explain all this in just a moment. All I'm here to tell you is that this is concerning, and Congress has no way of passing any legislation that is going to help us at this time. At least, according to multiple senators, they are saying that there is no way anything will pass, which means you and I are about to pay. So, I will break this down in just a moment. All I ask is one thing, takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now, let's begin. So first off, why are Americans going to pay for the indecisions that Congress is making? Well, it's actually pretty simple. Congress has an agenda. Congress needs to pass one piece of legislation very soon. That piece of legislation is for a government funding bill for fiscal year 2024. The problem with this bill is Congress has already agreed that this bill will only go so high. There's a cap, about $1.59 trillion. Anything more than that, Congress will reject it. Well, that's where things start. But here's where you are going to feel the impact. About 22 million people are going to feel the impact because internet assistance could be going away. This article right here says millions of Americans could lose internet aid months before the 2024 election. This bill, that came out to help people with their bills, this pays $30 per month to 22 million people. This is a huge, huge bill. This is going to cause a lot of heartache. It's going to cause a lot of pain financially for 22 million people that rely on this $30 per month for either less expensive internet or, for many people, free internet. This is going to be huge because that's going to cut off millions of people from having internet access. That's a problem because the majority of what we do now is online. Online banking, online bill pay. You want to change a subscription on Netflix? Well, you probably have to get online. This is a problem. But that's not the only group of people that are going to feel the impact. One thing that we know is that right now, because of this migrant crisis, where we are seeing 8,000 people come into the United States every single day, well, guess what? These people are going into mostly Democratic states, but they are being pushed away by some lawmakers, by some governors, and by mayors, and that's causing them to go to Republican states. Well, guess what? These states are now saying they need the help of the American government, or else they are not going to be able to keep their police force active. They won't be able to keep libraries open, parks open. They won't be able to improve roads, right? Schools are going to be impacted, right? Hospitals could be impacted. There's a lot of places that are going to be impacted. But the problem is, we are the ones that are going to pay for it. Not the cities, not the counties, not the states, the American people, the taxpayers. We're the ones that are going to pay for this. But there's another thing that's going to impact many lower income and fixed income households. And that is about 66 million people currently receive Social Security. Guess what? They are now discussing cuts. Now, these are not cuts to your Social Security benefits, so let's just get that out of the way. Your benefits are fine at the moment. The problem is, we are now hearing discussions of cuts to the Social Security Administration. This means if you have a question and you need to call in, well, your question may not be answered for days or if not weeks, because we are about to see cuts, which means there's going to be layoffs. Yeah, federal workers could be laid off very soon because they don't have the funding to keep them employed. That's a problem. But guess what's also happening, which is also putting more pressure on these different programs? Well, President Biden just the other day, he signed a 5.2% rate hike, okay, and a raise for federal workers. This started on January 1st. Guess what? this 5.2% is not added to the federal budget. This is going to be taken out of what is already existing, which means they have to take funding from other programs, put it into that little pot so that that pot can pay the employees. Again, more issues, but it means we are the ones that are going to pay. Well, here's something else. Democratic cities, Democratic states, they are now asking for more help from President Biden. President Biden seems very reluctant to help, but at the same time, he's not able to. His hands are tied. Here's what we know. As of right now, we're being told that budget cuts are going to hit everywhere. Just look at this. It says budget cuts hit preschools, cops, libraries as mayor blames migrants. It doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter what city, what state you're from. If we continue to see thousands and thousands of migrants enter into the United States every single day, just to give you an idea, we are going to have more immigrants entering the United States in 2024 than we have births. Yes, that's true. Okay? That is very concerning. That our only way to increase population is by immigration. Okay? Not by new births. Because right now, there are families, and especially the younger generation, they do not want to have children because of the costs involved in it. It is expensive. It's not cheap. And if you're relying on the federal government for assistance for things like SNAP benefits, healthcare, or WIC, guess what? WIC is one of those programs that is currently in question. If WIC doesn't receive additional funding in this next government funding bill, which comes up in about 2 weeks, guess what? WIC and the employees at WIC are going to have to turn away families, women and children that need this assistance. They're going to have to turn them away because they don't have the money to give them any additional assistance. That's a huge problem. Now, if you think that's bad, it's only going to get worse. According to experts, the further along we get in 2024 without solving this border security crisis, it's only going to get worse. Well, here's what one city's doing. Here's what Chicago is doing. Look at this. Chicago says continued arrival of migrants prompts Chicago to shift nearly $100 million to providing shelter. They are taking about $95 million from their COVID relief funds, and they're going to redistribute that to build shelters. Think about that for a second. And I want you to think about this because of one thing. Republicans have asked multiple times to take and pretty much redistribute, so it means pull back and then reuse that funding from COVID funding. That's the $350 billion that was distributed to states a couple years ago. Republicans have asked, let's pull some of that money back. If states still have, let's say, $30 billion, and I believe $30 billion was the last known number, if states still have that $30 billion, let's pull back about half of that, $15 billion. Because if we can get $15 billion back and we can use that and we can prioritize certain things, well, that helps us because we don't have the money in our budget. But again, if states start to use this on their own projects, which is exactly what it was intended to be used for, states could use the money for, they could give rebates at the end of the year. That if COVID came back, they could go and put up, tent sites. They could put up, things for the shot, right? All these different COVID-related expenses. But also, if it came back and businesses had to close down, they can help. If the city was losing tax revenue, that could go and pay for some of that. So that was what it was intended for. The problem now is because this has gone on for long enough, and right now, this is January 2nd, we have until January 1st, 2025 for states to use that funding, or else it goes right back to the United States Treasury. So now the reports are states are going to consider using this money, but it may not be for COVID-related expenses. This may be because they're going to use it more for an emergency, because now we're seeing more migrants come into certain cities. So just be aware that the funding that went for COVID may transition and to help and shelter illegal immigrants. So that's where we're at this time. But again, experts say we are about to pay. So let that sink in for a little bit. All I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoyed today's video. But that is what we have for you guys today. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing. I'll see you guys on the next one.